thing. Yeah. You hear this all right? Apparently Tom Brady was missing all that time because he was going to do the Masked Singer. That's why he's missing all that stuff.
No, I honestly, I've been on vacation. I haven't paid any attention to fucking much of anything. I saw something the other day. I don't even pay attention to like training camp, so I can't even say I knew what was going on. To be honest with you.
Honestly, I don't even blame you. Anyway, that's our little intro for this episode of Long Take. What episode are we on now? 7? Something like that. No. 9. I'm gonna say no. Yeah, I'm good with 9. We're on episode 9 of the Long Take. We got Clemmer back again, and we have for the first time, although it's obviously a long history of this show specifically or anything like that. Where you're at?
What's up, gentlemen? Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Needed to have you on as soon as we decided to do a 70's draft because you're kind of the expert of this area, no?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, first decade I saw movies. I mean, I think it's the best decade of movies ever. So yeah, right in my wheelhouse. Tons to choose from. This is actually the draft I tried to have with the Chicago guys, but those numbskulls don't know enough 70's movies, so we had to do TV shows instead. So yeah, this is my wheelhouse. It's gonna be tough to eliminate some, but I'm looking forward to it.
That's the thing. It was very hard to when I was looking through this list. It's very difficult to argue with you that this isn't one of if not the best decades of cinema because I can't. It's so hard to eliminate any of them and move around really the top tier of the list. It's really hard.
Without question, the most important decade in film.
Yes, that's for sure. Just especially for the entirety of the future of cinema is built on the back of a lot of the 70's. But before we talk about a lot of this stuff, we do have a couple of just news items. No, I don't know how much you guys will care about a lot of these, but I'm sure you're talking about it anyway. Jerry Bruckheimer confirmed the National Treasure 3 is in development, and then he said the script is really good, and then he's being sent to Nicolas Cage soon. Something strikes you. Are you not a National Treasure guy, guys?
I tried watching the first one. I should give it another chance. I'm sure. I don't know if the third one is needed necessarily.
Absolutely. If you watch the second one, a third one is necessary.
It ends on kind of a cliffhanger, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, not even kind of cliffhanger. It's like a huge.
It literally just sets up a third movie that they never made.
They made that show too. Did that come out?
I figured you would I feel like that's a people me and Ken Jackson age kind of movie. It's like our cheap ripoff of Indiana Jones, but it plays on TNT 24/7.
It's true, it does.
And it holds a special place in my heart. I love that franchise. People say the second one is bad. It's not bad. It's good. And I really want to know what's on page 47 of the Book of Secrets. So the thing that does confuse me is I've heard 10 different quotes from both of them at this point about this movie. Is this movie getting made? I feel like the last thing we heard was Nick Cage said he would never do anything with Disney again.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess when Bruckheimer calls, you answer. Fuck, are mics screwed up again? This in the studio mics are messed up. Ryan, what do you think about National Treasure?
I don't think I've ever seen any of them, so I'm like Clem. I might have put it on and just I don't know if I was just kind of this movie looks like an Indiana Jones ripoff. I know it's been pretty popular. I just never put it on. I never watched it. I'll be honest. I don't know. I think when you get older, you kind of know what movies you're gonna like, what movies are in your wheelhouse, and what movies you just don't even bother putting on. And I don't know. It's one I might watch someday, but I know I'm the movie guy, but I never put it on. So I really have. I know it's kind of a shitty opinion, but I really have no opinion because I didn't see the first two.
Well, we're going to be talking about plenty of Coppola stuff, no? So.
Oh, okay. I mean, dude, the guy's he's a legend, man. I mean, he's had one of the most unique careers in Hollywood. I mean, he's had the highs, the lows, the one of the Oscars, and then doing all the weirdo stuff. And then he did that meta movie last year, kind of goofing on all. But yeah, there's nobody quite like Nick Cage. I mean, there's only one Nick Cage, Nick Coppola, whatever you want to call him. There's only been one Nick Cage in movie history. No doubt about that.
Yeah. That's actually one of the funnest interviews. A while back, I solo interviewed Talia Shire, and that was one of the coolest interviews I think I got to do because she was just her history, not even just with some of the greatest movies ever made, but just with her family history and the Coppolas and all that is just very, very insanely interesting, at least to me. That was cool.
I know. What a wild career she had. I mean, she's part of two of the most, the biggest, movies. Most iconic franchises, if you will, ever, but really didn't do much else. But yeah, was still really talented, was nominated for an Oscar, obviously, and a really interesting career that she had. That's a really cool interview. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was very lucky. And that was right after COVID started too. And it was just one of our first Zoom ones.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't she the only actor or actress to appear in 3 Best Pictures in a 5-year span, right?
The only actress, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. I would say John Cazale, but the actress, but actor.
3 Best Picture winners.
The winners, right? Yeah, because I was in nominees, but not winners. Yeah,
right.
Person to be in 3 Best Pictures within a 5 year span.
That's wild.
What a run for Talia. It's like Jordan in the 90s.
Cazale though, he did what? Like he had 5 movies that combined for like 100 Oscar nominations or something.
Every movie that he was in was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of them today.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, but he's just a fascinating dude to me. Like he was doing all these like insanely, like he's an incredible actor too, doing all these incredible movies that are well received, and also like dating Meryl Streep at the time.
Yep.
And like,
and they got sick with cancer.
Exactly. Yeah.
All in the 70s. So what a wild decade for him.
Exactly, an insane decade. The other thing was that Cineworld, which is the owner of Regal Cinemas, is filing for bankruptcy. I haven't been to many Regals. I was definitely always been more of an a AMC guy, I would say. But like, I don't know. What's your guys' history with Regal?
I am a Regal patron. The theater I go to is a Regal Union Square. You can catch me there almost every single Sunday. So this is upsetting. I don't really know how bankruptcy works. I feel like it's a term that people think like the business is going out.
No, not necessarily.
So
the way they filed is this. So the bankruptcy that they filed allows them to keep doing operations, and it allows them maybe to postpone sometimes or not have to deal with the debt immediately. But it's not a good sign. I'm also a Regal patron as well. For New Hampshire, that's really all. We don't have any AMCs in New Hampshire. Our main theater is Regal's.
Gotcha.
And this would be disastrous news, not only for people who enjoy going to movies, but people in rural areas. A lot of times Regal is the only option. And I think it would also just destroy the box office numbers. I mean, I think it's a very large percentage of theaters in the country are Regal, are owned by Cineworld.
That company's the number 2 in the world.
You also don't want AMC to just be the only option. Because like as of now, they're competing with each other to keep those unlimited passes. Like the prices are reasonable right now. Like I think Cinemark is what I used to go to in Kentucky. Regal's is at I think at $24 a month. AMC A-list is what, $30 a month?
I think so.
So those are reasonable prices. But if AMC becomes the only show in town, it's like they're just gonna jack it to $45 a month. Because then it's still like a deal, kind of, but like as of now, you're kind of getting away with highway robbery.
I do like this from Ryan. It's true. Regal needs a Nicole Kidman to introduce their movies or something.
Who could be the Regal spokesperson?
I'm trying to think of like what's an equivalent actress to Nicole Kidman where it's just like their prestige level.
Regal has Rosie O'Donnell.
Well, actually funnier.
There's a local theater in Massachusetts, and RA will know this. And the spokesperson is Lenny Clark, and he comes on and does like the intro, just like the Nicole Kidman one. But it's not a spoof. It's like it was like done like with
like serious
genuine intentions. Yes.
What is that, Chris?
What's the one that's in Chestnut Hill? The fancy one that has Showcase.
Yeah,
Showcase Cinemas.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I've ever been to the movies at Chestnut Hill. Just not a neck of the woods I would go to for the movies. As far as Regal, I don't think there's a lot of Regal in Boston. I know Fenway is a Regal, but it's always been AMC or Showcase Cinemas. That was a big one. Showcase Cinemas in Revere. I used to go to that one all the time. And then they knocked it down and put a goddamn Amazon there. So that was almost seeing your movie theater get knocked down for an Amazon warehouse. But yeah, Regal's wasn't a huge name like in Boston proper. I mean,
if you go to New Hampshire, it's the only option. It really is. Like Regal's and just family owned, but Regal is really, and I think a lot of rural areas across the country, Regal is the only option. For whatever reason, AMC I feel is more on the coast in the urban markets.
Okay. Yeah, AMC is definitely I think more coastal. Because Midwest I felt a lot more Regal and a lot more Cinemark were the 2 very popular options. I like Cinemark a lot.
Me too. I do too.
They had, never heard of this one. Harkins?
Never heard of Harkins.
No, I haven't either.
Unless this guy's trying to play a bit on this.
No, maybe not. No, I mean,
I go to Steve Stevenson's.
Harkins says, very real.
Little Perfect Strangers joke.
Yeah.
Perfect Strangers. Stranger Things. I'm half asleep. Perfect.
Yeah, I got where you were going with that.
A little Balky Bartuckermish joke there, all right?
These theaters look really nice too. Shit. The Harkins ones. These are really nice. Damn. They're like more neon-y versions of AMC. These are cool. But yeah, those ones are nice. Just AMC's been really the only ones I went to because they're the closest ones to me ever on Long Island. Like it's the only ones really there. It's like you go to one in an outlet mall or whatever, and
AMC is the only option on Island.
We had one local theater. It was the Islip movie theater for me, and it shut down, closed, close, get someone to buy it, reopen, close, reopen, reopen over and over again. Last time I was there, it had such a terrible smell of sewage throughout the entire place. I was just like, I think I walked out of Forget what movie it was.
Were you seeing a Marvel movie?
No. I was,
okay.
It was like a very crappy, very crappy movie.
Stinko Vision or something. One of those like like that old John was it John Goodman movie, the old theater matinee when he had like.
Oh yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that's an early '90s one.
He was like a precursor to IMAX with that stuff, with the sheets,
true.
Seat shaking and shit.
And that's kind of the cool thing about AMC's too. So they do have all those options, usually like IMAX, Dolby, 4DX, whatever, like anything you want. They usually do have them, and sometimes Regal, I guess, doesn't.
No, they don't.
So
it's a bit more bare bones,
more digital.
Theirs is RPX, which is close, but it's just not. It's not IMAX. Like it's not the real IMAX, at least.
Gotcha.
Like, not even close.
I was trying to explain it to Whitney on a show recently because he was like, "Oh, I saw Top Gun Maverick on IMAX at the Boston Common." I'm like, "Yeah, that's not really IMAX. They say it, but it's not a true IMAX." I was like trying to explain the differences, like technical things. He's looking at me like I got 7 heads. I'm like,
the best way I've ever heard like a real IMAX theater described is like it's real IMAX if like they're showing like nature documentaries like half the time. Like most of those real IMAXs are always just showing nature documentaries.
The Boston Common IMAX that RA's talking about, though, he's exactly right. It's such an IMAX knockoff. It's not even a good IMAX knockoff. It's like 20 years old. It's just not a great theater.
Yeah. The other big piece of news we have today is just one. Like we never talk about movie anniversaries really, but there was one that I wanted to get both of your thoughts on. Because it's a movie that was very important, I would say, specifically for me and Gooch, which is Superbad. Superbad had its 15th anniversary yesterday. And I think for us, that's like the defining comedy. And that obviously changes throughout generations. But like that was our definition of the perfect comedy for a very long time.
That was our Airplane.
That was our Airplane. Yeah. It's a great comparison. But I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on Superbad.
I think it's a brilliant film. It's one of the best comedies of the last 20 years. It hasn't been a good comedy released since 2010 for a lot of social reasons, I think. A lot of people are, if you're afraid to offend, it's going to be tough to make good comedy. The Superbad came out obviously a little before that, and it is fantastic. I don't know if I'd say it's the best comedy of the last 20 years. I really love Observe and Report, which I know is a different kind of spin on things. I think it's a brilliant film. But Superbad is very, very, very funny. It's easily in the top 5 of best comedies. Role Models is up there with it.
Oh, I love Role Models. That's so funny. Very underappreciated Role Models versus most of the other top comedies.
But Superbad's great. I love it. What about you, RA?
I'm a huge Superbad fan. I know it's people kind of shocked when they hear that because I'm the old guy, but I would actually disagree. It's not the Airplane. I always say Superbad is the Animal House of the millennial.
Okay, yes, that was the other movie in my head when I was like Airplane.
Changed sort of trajectory of comedy briefly because, as Chris just said, the world, the political correcting that's kind of swung back and forth both ways, and obviously it's gone hugely one way, and hopefully it'll come back a little more the other day. So yeah, we didn't get that whole run of comedies after Superbad like we did Animal House, but we got a few of them, and then the world just kind of too pussified for comedy for the most.
The appetite for R-rated comedies just like dried up out of nowhere. Yeah, it
wasn't out of nowhere though. There's a reason for it.
Yeah, it did kind of like we talk about this a lot, but the comedy scene has really shifted away from movies and towards TV. And a lot of writers, I feel like, just are like, we are not going to be able to make a blockbuster comedy that's going to make money. Like, we were talking about this before.
Who did we talk to about it? And they explained it. And they're like, there's just the money for it just isn't there. Like,
it doesn't exist.
Like it's too big of a risk for a studio to pump a lot of money into making an R-rated comedy because there's not a lot of return.
I think that's bullshit. I think it's a flat out full of shit reason for the studios to excuse not doing comedies. Comedies cost $30, $40, $50 million to make. Yeah. You're making movies that cost $150 million, without batting an eye.
Yeah.
I think they're just saying that because they don't want to make a movie that's going to offend people.
I agree, Chris. Because if so what? You offend 2% of people, but what you'll make fucking $9 zillion on the other end. They're just too chicken shit. It reminds me of the whole James Gunn thing when they fired him after a bunch of fucking idiots online complained, like they, because of his old stupid jokes on Twitter. Then they went backpedaled. It's like you can't listen to the vocal minority. Like you can't listen to 5% of people or 2% of people complaining and then react to that. Just put your fucking movie out and let it sink or swim. If it's good, if it's offends, whatever. Obviously not going to put some out blatantly offensive, but I think you could shoehorn some jokes in there that might tickle some people the wrong way, but I think they're just basically a bunch of fucking, pardon my French, pussies these days.
I think it's a combination of both things where for example, you go back and you look at the 1999 box office result, it's big things you would imagine Saving Private Ryan, whatever, but then there's Something About Mary was the 3rd highest grossing movie of that year. That's never going to happen again. there's never going to be a comedy that grosses into the top 5 of the year. And that's kind of, I think, where
last one would have been The Hangover, right? Hangover
was a huge hit. Huge hit, yeah.
But you're never going to have one that's really in that level. And that's, I guess, what they're more like mostly worried about in that level of return. They're like, how about we just do the lowest amount of promotion, lowest amount of money into it, and then maybe we'll get something back.
See, I disagree again. Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore's movies made about $40 million when they came out, but they cost 10 to make.
Mhm.
They made money. Like, back then you could make these mid-level movies and you could make money off of them. Even it didn't need to be a blockbuster. So you're right. And to some extent, the box office world changed where it's either tentpole or nothing. But on the other end, these studios are so afraid to do anything that might potentially offend anyone. And it's not just studios; it's everyone. And look at the whole world, And I think they've fallen into that trap. I hope 10 years from now it swings back the other way, and people are maybe a little less afraid to offend, and maybe we'll see comedies come back.
Yeah. Got a question here for you, RA.
Yeah.
On the bottom of this,
was Happy Gilmore a hockey movie?
He took off his skate and tried to kill someone. Come on. He's a
Uh,
hockey player.
You know what? I honestly I can't tell you the last time I watched Happy Gilmore. Here's my thing with the early Sandler movies. I'm a big Sandler guy, but when those come out, I was in my 20s already, so they didn't hit me like they did the people who were probably younger than me. So I didn't watch them over and over and over again. I'm not I've watched them, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I quote Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison I don't. They're not in my upper echelon. I say it's a golf movie, but I haven't watched it in probably fucking 20 something years. So you can argue that it's a hockey movie. I'm not gonna die on that hill. I literally have seen Happy Gilmore less than 5 times. I know, kick me when I'm down, but.
Right. I'm so happy to have someone older than me here, because I was like that 14-year-old watching it over and over again that RA is describing. So it's nice that I'm finally doing a Barstool podcast with someone who's older than me. This is great.
Well, that's like every Home Alone Christmas time, and I'll shit all over it. And people how do you not like it? I'm like, I was 21 when it came out, man. It wasn't I wasn't a kid when it came out, so I didn't have that nostalgia. I didn't have that feel for it. And all these years later, it's whatever. I shrugged my shoulders. One other quick note on the anniversaries is the company, and I don't say their name, but they do a lot of anniversary showings at local theaters, whether it's 15th, 20th. Well, I found out that a lot of these showings, sometimes they actually just put a friggin' DVD in the cinema. It's not even a movie. They're literally putting a DVD on. I'm not the biggest. I can't tell you if it's 33 millimeter, this ratio, that I'm not an expert with that stuff. But I found out some of these showings, it'll just be a recording, or sometimes someone said one was off a DVR. So you might want to check that stuff up. You're gonna spend $20 to go see an old movie, man. And it's like you could just watch a DVD in your living room instead of going to the cinema for it.
They've been doing that.
All right, did you see Jaws is coming out in IMAX for the first time ever next month? Though that's gonna be fucking awesome.
I just saw E.T. last week, and it was unbelievable. I hadn't seen it on a big screen in 40 years, and seeing it in IMAX, I felt like I was 10 years old again. It was unbelievable to see.
I do wish they would do more of those, IMAX re-releases, because I would go all the time to see some of the bigger. They did. This is more recent, but Blade Runner 2049. If they re-release that in IMAX, I'd be there. I'd pay $30 to go see it tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean,
real
IMAX. We're going to talk
real
about
IMAX.
We're going to talk about a shit ton of movies in this entire draft. I would see any one of them in IMAX again, or not IMAX, just re-released in a theater again, for sure. So let's just go right into our draft. I put our names in a randomizer to pick out our draft order. It's going to go me, Rearad, Robbie, then Clemmer. We have we said 5 picks, but I gave you the pre-warning, Rearad and Clemmer, we talked about this. We might expand. It really depends, because there's so many good movies from this era. It might be hard to leave a lot of these off the list. So we'll see how it goes. But for my 1-1 from movies from the 70s, I think it would be disingenuous for me to pick anything other than Jaws. Because Jaws for me that's a movie you want to talk about, ones that really redefined genres and just did so many interesting techniques, puts obviously Spielberg on the map, great, phenomenal cast. Oh my God. That is the perfect trio of guys I think maybe ever put onto a film. They are so goddamn good together. Incredibly scary, looks real because they used that fake right shark thing.
That picture is always so funny with Spielberg sitting inside of it.
Yep. And what was it? Didn't George Lucas come on the set and just break it or something accidentally? I think I remember reading some story about it.
Funny story or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Lucas was fucking with it and he actually broke their robot version of it. But Jaws I think is one of the greatest movies ever made. It's a perfect 100 out of 100 for me on movierankings.net. I think it's fantastic, and that's one I cannot wait to watch when it comes back out on IMAX for sure. But I don't. Are you guys?
I mean, in my book, I think it is a 100 out of 100 movie. I think it is fucking phenomenal. Script to acting to just visuals of it. Like, it's so good. It's very rewatchable too. Sometimes you get those great movies and you don't want to go back and rewatch them that often because it's like, you know, like a fancy meal or something like that is like the best cheeseburger you'll ever have in your life. You can go back and watch that over and over.
Just to see Robert Shaw, man.
Movie. No movie from the 70s ages better than that movie. I think that movie ages the best of everything we're going to talk about today because the pacing is so brisk. Yes. It's a fantastic movie. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. It's probably my top 10. It's 100 out of 100 for me as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it gets the 1-1 spot. I think that's an insane move there. Ooh. But I do think it's a great movie.
I know what you're thinking, what you want there. And I agree. Like that, this for me was my big battle. Was the one you're thinking of in this. But now you get to go.
Well, I don't get to go. But
oh yeah, sorry, rear end.
Yeah, Ari's gonna steal here.
I know. I think my favorite favorite Jaws stories is how much like Robert Shaw fucked with Richard Dreyfuss on the set. Like, you know, like this, like, you know, theater guy, like kind of fancy theater guy, and Robert Shaw is that old, like, you know, English, Welsh, Irish drinking crew, that heavy drinking crew. Yep. Dude, he was only like what 48 or 49. Robert Shaw was that movie. Like when you watch it, I was like, he was younger than me when he made that friggin' thing, and he was dead like 5 years later. Like, he died pretty young. But
hard life.
His speech when he talks about was it the Indianapolis or whatever. That is such a goddamn good scene. That's so intense.
Great monologue.
He's telling that. Oh, so goddamn good.
What's interesting too, like if you've watched any of like the making of docs, like that was filmed over 2 days, and like one of the days he was shit faced, like it was drunk off on the set. And if you actually look at his eyes, you that's like the one way you could tell they shot some on one day and one another, but some of the parts he's actually drunk in some of them with the way they edit together. Yeah, a funny little story from the set. Not that,
was that dude.
Yeah.
All right, you're up.
I'm up. This is no brainer for me. I mean, my GOAT, the greatest movie ever made. I think there's only one flaw in this movie, and that's when a punch gets missed by about a foot. It's a no-brainer call for me. You know, I know people. Oh God, it's boring. It's like when I hear that, I tune people out immediately and forever when they say that about The Godfather. It's just like you have no patience to watch a movie, is what I think. But yeah, Francis Ford Coppola. It's obviously a legendary story. They just did the miniseries on Paramount about it. But yeah, what more can you say? The Godfather.
Those were literally my top two. Like I had one Godfather,
Me
two
too.
Jaws.
I did as well.
I was like, those are just two that just stand the test of time. And yeah, I went back and rewatched it recently. Because I don't know, did you watch The Offer on Paramount Plus?
Right? I couldn't think of the name of the show. Yeah, I did. It was a little cheesy, little corny, but
yeah, definitely. And it was like self-servicing for Paramount for sure. But like it just kind of made you want to go back and watch it and like just see things that you didn't see before. And yeah.
Have you guys read the book, Read the Gun, Take the Cannoli?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's fantastic. And Kirk Minahan actually recommended it to me when I was in his show. And it is basically, it's The Offer, but it's, I think the book is, from what I understand, is I didn't watch The Offer, but I read the book and it's fantastic. I guess it's a much better version, but I recommend that book to anyone who's looking for a good Godfather book.
Good. I'm always looking for more like behind the scenes movie books because I watch a lot of like documentaries and stuff on it, but I very rarely read the books. So I'm gonna get into some of those. But yeah, great pick. And I forgot about the James Caan whiff. And I forget what that actor's name is, but just like 5 feet in front of his face.
It's like the most Italian name you could think of.
Johnny Russo, right? Was it Johnny Russo?
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah. And they just picked the worst angle for that. It's like a perfect shot of like the only angle where you could perfectly see the miss.
I mean, it's funny because it's otherwise a perfect movie. It's sort of like Pulp Fiction, you know, another perfect movie. What's the one goofy thing in Pulp Fiction?
Well, the line reading is off when it starts and when it ends. She doesn't get the line. Amanda Plummer doesn't get the line quite right.
You're right. That's two actually. Now you remind me of that, Clem. No, when Arquette comes out of the bathroom with the goddamn hand cannon. And he aims at Jules and Vincent. The bullet holes are already in the wall behind him before he shoots them.
I think I noticed that.
Yeah, the bullet holes are already in the wall.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, Robbie, you're up.
So this might come back to me if I waited for it. I'm looking at it, but I can't let it pass. I don't want to take that risk, and it's my favorite comedy of all time, my number one comedy of all time. It's Blazing Saddles.
Wow.
Especially when you want to talk about movies that probably couldn't be made today.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really problematic at all. Like I don't see any problems in the humor. It's just one of those things where it uses a word that people definitely shy away from. But I think it does it in a way that's so perfectly well done.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Wilder is just fucking incredible. Mel Brooks is like just throwing fastball after fastball straight down the plate.
So good.
It's just so funny. And it's a movie that you can stream almost always. It's not streaming right now. I actually checked last night, but it's almost always on Netflix, it feels like. So I've always loved it for that reason too.
So many classic lines in that, man.
Where the white woman at?
Yeah, One White Woman is one of the funniest, most iconic lines.
When he holds himself hostage with a guy. Don't do it. Just kills me.
Blazing Saddles is like All in the Family. Like, the All in the Family, like that show could never get made today, but it's a brilliant show. Blazing Saddles the same way. It could never be made today. Brilliant.
Yeah,
and it's got everything from like physical humor down to like just like great line reads.
Fart jokes.
Water like holds his hand out. And he's like, but I shoot with this hand. And his like other hand is just shaking.
It's actually on streaming on Hulu right now. Actually.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is just one of many Mel Brooks movies that we're going to get to at some point or during this entire draft. But Clemmer, now you get back-to-back picks.
All right, I'm happy about that. So I'm going to start with Godfather Part 2.
Yeah.
I like The Godfather more. I know some people really like Part 2 more. For 2, for me, it's the stuff, young Vito, the De Niro stuff is just incredible.
So good.
I don't love the Hyman and Ross stuff as much, but it's still, the stuff with Fredo and Michael is just fantastic.
The baptism scene was in 2, right? Like that. I'm not
correct. Baptism scene was in 1.
Oh, okay. I was trying to think of the scene where Mo Green gets shot in the eye.
That's 1.
That is 1.
Yep.
Okay.
Obviously stuff with Fredo at the end with the boat. It's heartbreaking. You really see Michael go from a bad guy to an evil person, where in the first movie you see him go from a good person to a bad person. But like I said, the stuff with De Niro is incredible. And my other pick is going to be Rocky, which is, maybe the best sports movie ever. It's a fantastic movie. Obviously, Stallone. Rocky Balboa is my favorite character in film history. Maybe my favorite character in art. Period.
Yeah.
And you get. I know some people complain it's a little slow, but I think it's great. I think it moves really well. I just watched it pretty recently. You have Burgess Meredith is fantastic in it.
Oh, yeah.
Burt Young, both of them nominated for Oscars. Talia Shire obviously got nominated for an Oscar as well. Won Best Picture. Beat All the President's Men. Beat Network. Beat some heavy hitters. But Rocky is fantastic. Those are my 2 picks.
We talked about it before.
With Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, with Aubrey Plaza too. But we were saying with Rocky, people kind of think of it, I think, in the lens of it being like, oh yeah, those are like big budget, fucking propaganda movies, or like Rocky 4 or whatever. But Rocky 1 is an indie. It is like literally
just straight up
gritty indie movie that was made for like $10 and like a Jiffy Lube coupon. Like it is so weird when you look at that in retrospect to like Rocky 4, which is just like an American propaganda movie, but still rocks anyway for whatever that's worth. But yeah, it is a really goddamn good movie, and I think that's a great pick.
I have very bad takes on the Rocky franchise where it's like
you guys will be disgusted by it.
Yeah, like I love Rocky 2. I like Rocky 2 better. Rocky 4 probably better too. Rocky 3 not as much. I recognize. I'm saying I like them better.
No,
I think they're better movies. I'm saying I like them.
I get it. Yeah. The other thing with Rocky though, it's a sports movie, but I watched it recently, maybe a couple of years ago, and it's actually like it's kind of a chick flick. To be honest with you, it's a love story. Like the whole,
it is a love story.
It's 4 or 5 days, and then the last 30 words of the movie, like "I love you" said like 10 times in a row. Yeah. It's like
makes me cry every time. Like the second she walks in with her red hat, like in the gym, like I'm starting to bawl. Like I think it's such a great love story, and it's but it's also a great sports movie. It's a great underdog. John G. Alvinson also directed Karate Kid. No one does underdog stories better than him. And he also does some horror movies as well. But those 2 are fantastic. And I really love Rocky.
I just love with Rocky 4. I always love the training montage. Number 1, I think they have one of the best, if not the best. It's so goddamn good. And I also think Dolph Lundgren, obviously incredible as well for what that's worth. But the whole behind the scenes stuff with Rocky 4 is so great to me, where like Dolph Lundgren almost killed Sylvester Stallone because Sly's like, oh yeah, you actually punched me this time, and Dolph just like cocked and punched him in the chest and like caved in his heart, and he had to go to the hospital. It's like I just love that sort of stuff. And then obviously USA beating Russia always rocks. And that's
also too. We continue with that. Guys who are a certain age making. Burt Young was 35 years old.
No fucking way.
That's wild.
He looks like he's like 80.
That's crazy.
He hasn't, and he looks the same now as he did back then too. Like
it's true.
He's stuck in that age. Yeah,
he was always 57 years old. Like he's permanently 57.
Yeah, like comes home and I'm only 35 or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Robbie, you're back up.
Oh shit.
This is where it gets hard.
All right, yeah. I'm going to go A New Hope.
That's a good thing.
Star Wars when it initially came out. Star Wars.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, I knew you were going to call me on that.
Yeah.
It's actually, and I'm again not a popular take, but I'm such a sucker for origin movies that A New Hope is actually my favorite from the original trilogy. I love that movie. It's just beautiful to look at, and you can just see all the sci-fi influence that it had on everything that came afterwards. Mark Hamill, incredible. That shot is just one of my favorite shots in the history of movies too. When he's looking out at the binary suns, and the theme is playing in the back. And I didn't even get to the theme yet. John Williams just fucking knocks it out of the park like always. Probably his best. I mean, that Star Wars theme is so
that and Indy are like two of the greatest of all time.
I have a different one.
Really?
Yeah, we'll get into it maybe later.
E.T. I don't know. But yeah. I mean, there's not much to be said. I mean, it kicked off one of if not the biggest franchises of all time. It's just a monolith in Hollywood. I mean, it's incredible.
I still love how Alec Guinness like hated it. He's like this movie's gonna suck. Fuck this. Like he's like there was the one high profile actor, and like what do you call it? Lucas had pulled Harrison Ford like out of doing carpentry for sets to do American Graffiti, right? I think. And then just do that too. Yeah. And like no one thought it was gonna be good, and then it just rocked. It was so good.
Is there any movie better at world building in the history of film?
I don't think so.
I just saw it the other night. Actually, he was playing at Coolidge Corner here.
Oh, nice,
Brookline. But so I bought the ticket. I was all fired up, and then I thought it was like the OG version, and then like there was nothing in like the advertisement, whatever. So the guy comes out before, and like he's like, all right, just to let you know, this is the 1997 special edition. I started booing. I was like, oh, man, Star Wars. He's like, that's the only one Disney will give us. They won't give us another one. So it's like you either see that in the theater or you don't see anything. But like it was funny to hear like the crowd laugh. It was sort of people, were kind of like not talking, but like make comments. But it was almost like not Rocky Horror to that extent, but it was kind of funny because everybody there obviously saw Star Wars. But it was funny to hear people laugh at like certain lines that like aren't like funny. Like Luke's very first line, he comes out like so whiny. The whole theater just laughed at it. It was like they were laughing at him. But like when the actual scenes that he put in, the special edition scene, they're so disjointed and out of place that it did distracting. Like, and I didn't notice. I mean, I saw them when they come out now, 25 friggin' years ago. But like when the stormtrooper hits his head, I didn't know they added a sound effect in that. It's like, is this the Three Stooges? Like the whole point is like it's like almost an Easter egg. You're not supposed to draw attention to an Easter egg. You're supposed to look for, and it's like they had like the doink noise, and then like of course. Star Wars nerd, we got to go to the Han Solo Greedo thing, and like but then like they added the Greedo sound effect after like that he says something back that wasn't the original, and I don't know if I didn't catch it the last time or the first time I saw it, and it was like you almost ruined the goddamn movie by putting all this like extraneous shit in. It's just I don't know. I got aggravated at the special editions all over again when I went.
Haven't they changed that Greedo scene like 5 times now?
Oh, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing? Why?
Actually, that VCR TV combo I got? Robbie Fox sent me the Star Wars, the original Star Wars. Like, doesn't even say New Hope on it. Like that VHS one. It's like a treasured possession of mine now. It is so good.
No, I still have, that's the only VHS I have, that trilogy box set from like.
Yeah.
Isn't it sad? So we all agree that Star Wars is a brilliant, amazing film. But yet we're talking about the changes he made to it. Like, leave it fucking alone. We all agree it's a masterpiece. Yeah. Everyone agrees it's a masterpiece. Why touch it at all?
George Lucas is a weird cat in that, like, he needed more people in his life after the original trilogy ended to tell him no to things. Like, he lost that element. Like, whoever those people in his life, they were gone and replaced with yes men, and they kind of helped cause the prequel trilogy. They kind of helped cause the special edition stuff. Like, they are a big problem in George Lucas's later life.
While we're at, before we move on to my pick, we got to probably briefly mention on Disney Plus, Light and Magic, the documentary.
Yes, for sure. And Empire Dreams.
Magic. Is that on ILM?
It's about ILM. Yeah, it's what's great about it. It's obviously the history of the company, which was just started just to do the effects in Star Wars. They had to do it all from scratch. But it's also sort of a history of like, special effects as they did the Star Wars trilogy, then Raiders, and then every other movie, Jurassic Park. So it's a pretty good like history of special effects in movies for the last like 40 years as well.
Good shout out.
Yeah, check that out. But all right, my pick, the comedy that changed American comedies forever. Any movie you've laughed at for the last 40-something years goes back to this one. It's when the game changed. Animal House. No brainer. John Landers comedy, written Doug Kenny. Who the hell else? Oh, Chris Miller wrote it. Doug Kenny, one of the legendary Hollywood visionaries, even though he died young. Animal House. There had never been a movie like that before, a comedy like that. I mean, it changed the culture, like not just college culture, party culture. The toga parties. I don't know if they happened in the 50s or 60s when the movie was set, but colleges kind of picked up on that. It literally just changed like the culture outside movies and inside movies because it was I don't know if you call it gross out comedy or whatever. I mean, it's actually sharper than maybe even it gets credit for. But Animal House, comedy game changer, easy pick for me in the second round.
Love that pick. Yeah. Love that pick. So it still holds up too. It's one of the, like some comedies, like comedy just doesn't, just for what it is, doesn't always age that well. But when a comedy movie like that is just, you can put it on and like a 15-year-old today will just still fucking die at it. Like that is the mark of a great comedy.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the most iconic pieces of movie clothing too, is just that college sweatshirt. Like
the John Belushi with the Jack Daniels in his hand. Yeah.
That's like one of the number one, I think, just college images and then just college or just movie items of clothing that you could ever have. All right. I got back to back and this is where it's going to get harder. It's not even harder. It's like all these movies are good. It's just like, what order do I want them in?
Right.
I'll go with Apocalypse Now first. Apocalypse Now, one of the greatest war movies ever made, if not the greatest, some of the greatest performances you'll ever watch. We're just talking about Harrison Ford. He has like a 5-second cameo in this, which wouldn't have happened like even 5 years later. Martin Sheen, incredible. Marlon Brando, I think that's like maybe his last great performance, because Superman was before this, right? And then like I'm trying to think of everything after, because he was in a bunch of not so great stuff after that. But Marlon Brando in this movie was incredible, and the fact that they had to like shoot around him being fat was also very interesting in retrospect, because when you learn that later. Who's the oh my god, the guy from Godfather, dude,
Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall,
yeah,
iconic bit in that. Lawrence Fishburne,
very young
little role in that, very super young. Such a good movie. So many iconic lines. Smell of napalm in the morning. I think the adaptation, because I read the book like when I was a lot younger. I think it's like The Jungle or something.
Yeah, Robert Conrad.
Yeah, Robert Conrad. Yeah, I read the book a little while after that, when I was probably too young to read it. And like, man, I think it's such a good adaptation. Just a really, really, really good movie that inspired a lot of other shots and a lot of other like parody, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people try to imitate. No one could ever really do it though. It's one of my favorites, I think, from this era for sure, and one of the best by quality standpoint, for whatever that's worth. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
So this is where me being young and just not going back and watching enough good movies comes into play. I haven't seen Apocalypse Now. Literally just wrote down, watch it. Like I just wrote it down. Like, gotta watch it, because it's like one of those movies, I always just scroll past. I'm like, what is it, 2+ hours?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, not right now.
It's a long one.
Not tonight.
It's the movie. It's the movie that broke Coppola, though. I mean, you talk about Brando never making a great movie again. I mean, he's pretty good in The Freshman with Matthew Broderick, but I mean, it's not. He's kind of just riffing off of his Vito character.
Yeah.
Coppola never made a great movie again. I think The Rainmaker's okay, but I mean, he didn't even write that. Obviously based off Grisham, and he did some weird stuff. Cotton Club. He did some other like S.E. Hinton stuff in the 80s.
Someone just said John Vaughn with Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah,
that was a rough one.
The Freshman.
The Freshman's not bad. It's actually not a bad movie. And he's pretty good in it. But Coppola never really did. Now I guess he's supposedly working on something now. He's talking about it over and over again.
Financing himself.
I mean, we'll see.
He sold his half his winery to.
We'll see if it happens, or we'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. I hope it happens. But it's that movie, I guess, was just such an endeavor for him that he never really was the same again.
Yeah. But still, for whatever it's worth, great movie. And that's one where like I think when I read the article on him wanting to do this new movie, he's like, the reason I sold this is I like to bet on myself. He did a lot with this and with Godfather too, like as well.
Yeah, like Metropolis remake.
Metropolis, yeah. But dude bet on himself a lot, and maybe this movie rocks, maybe it sucks. I don't know. It's still like, it's tough to be like,
I'll be excited to see it.
Super against Coppola in any way. All right, for my next one on my back-to-back, I'll go with one of my favorite. My favorite from this era would probably be Blazing Saddles, but since that's gone, I'll go with Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I think if you want to talk about comedies that hold up really well, you can watch that right now and you'll laugh just as much as you would have laughed watching it in the 70s.
You could show that movie to an 8-year-old and they'll laugh. Like, that's what makes that movie so fucking good.
An older person, a younger person. There's like, and the good thing about that movie too is I think there's like a little bit for everyone. You know what I mean?
It's not like Life of Brian, where you kind of have to have a little intelligence to get there.
Parts of it,
like you have to be a little worldly to at least get there. Monty Python, the Holy Grail. It's like it's just dumb humor.
You get the
like
dumb.
plays.
You get some things that are like you takes like a couple steps to
Yeah.
get where you're going, and then there's just so many great bits. The entire Monty Python crew is so goddamn funny. Especially it was Graham something. The guy who passed away who played King Arthur in the movie was incredible. So one of my favorite movies of all time. Had to pick it. You guys, Monty Python guys, or are you strict American comedy guys?
I wouldn't say I'm a strict American comedy guy, but I Monty Python. It's a void in my library. I never get into them. I'm not against them. I just never seen any of them. But it's not like a pro-American or anti-British. I just never waded into it. I'm familiar with like a lot of the jokes, or whatever. So yeah, I can't really yay or nay one way or the other.
Very funny movie. I think it's the best Monty Python movie.
Sure.
I wouldn't. It wouldn't make my list here. You know, we're talking about the greatest movies of the decade. But it's certainly solid. I considered it for the back end, I guess. So, I mean, it's a fine choice. It's fine.
It would have been my next choice. It was next up on the list for me. I love that movie. I love it so much. There's so many funny, dumb bits that just get me.
Yeah,
you just get me. Everything. The Black Knight, the guy with the coconuts, the whole fucking the coconut bit.
The coconut bit is very good. And like, look at the size of that Camelot. It's only a model. Like, and they make like all these like inside jokes, fourth wall breaks, stuff like that. It's just
a flesh wound is a great scene with the knight.
With the Black Knight.
Yeah. It's a very funny movie.
Yeah, see, I'm more familiar with just the flesh wound from European Vacation than I am Monty Python. So, just go back to Apocalypse real quick. There is a documentary called Hearts of Darkness about the making of that. Wanted to mention that, and that was actually the book too, Heart of Darkness, Jack, that you were wondering about, the Joseph Conrad book. But yeah, Hearts of Darkness. It's but yeah, basically, Martin Sheen had a heart attack making that movie too.
Yeah, that's right.
Movie almost killed a lot of people.
I think he almost did the Leo thing, right? Where he broke his hand on that mirror and like he actually like fucked it up and like it got all bloody and stuff.
Yeah,
I think, right?
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Wild set. All right, my third pick. One of only, I believe, 3 movies to win the Big 5 Oscars: picture, actor, actress, director, and writing. Still holds up. Great book, and it's a movie very much of its time too. But One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
It's a great pick.
Classic fucking Jack Nicholson. I'd say that's where he truly like made his legend. I know he did Chinatown before and 5 Easy Pieces and a few other things, but One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was like when he became Jack, and one best actor for it, and that was it, man. He was off and running even more so then. But if you've never seen it, Jack Nicholson, he goes into a nut house instead of jail, and he basically sort of causes like a mini rebellion. He goes head to head with the Nurse Ratched. I won't say the word I want to say about her, but just the classic. No, you can't say good versus evil, just protagonist versus antagonist, and a tremendous cast of characters. You'll see some familiar faces too among the other not inmates, but patients at the place he's at. Danny DeVito. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. If you've never seen it, I can't recommend it enough. Tremendous drama with a lot of laughs in it, and it's a vintage Jack Nicholson performance.
Always love the Tonto scene. That was the character's name, right?
Chief.
It was just Chief. Yeah, that was a really good scene.
It's an incredible movie. There's no better movie about rebellion. This would absolutely have made my list eventually. It's fantastic. Louise Fletcher played Nurse Ratched, obviously won Best Actress. One of the best performances by an actress in the 70s, I think. Just like you said, it's not really good versus evil, but and you can kind of understand to some extent where she's coming from, at least initially. But also power corrupts. Like it has all these great themes based on that Ken Casey novel. But you're right. All right. It really is a product of its time with dealing with rebellion and, think about Watergate and all the stuff that's happening around that time. It is a fantastic movie. And I agree with everything I already said. It's a great movie.
Fantastic pick. Robbie, you're up.
HBO Max too, by the way.
We're going back to back. Jack, right here. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. I love Chinatown. I really do. It's such a great. I love noirs, and that's a gold standard in the genre. It's so good. I'm not going to give any props to the director because he's a piece of shit. But outside of that, Jack Nicholson stars. How old was he in that movie, by the way? I think
he might have been 25.
He got a late start. He was in mid-30s. Yeah.
Okay, because I know it was one of his early works, but it's funny looking at him because he looks like he's 45 in that movie. But he's just, young Jack is like, you see why he was such a star. Growing up, you think of him like he didn't really have much for us growing up, like anger management. Shit like
that was like one of the first ones. I
Like
saw
just
as a
bad,
kid.
just not great movies.
Mm.
But like you go back and you look at his younger stuff, he just commands the screen. It's really just like it's mesmerizing when you watch him.
Mm-hmm.
Faye Dunaway also fucking fantastic
So
in the
good in
movie.
that.
Just a movie about water, like water treatment,
Yeah.
like about corruption. Like it's just so good. I love it.
Fantastic pick.
It's a great pick. It's the Birth of LA, all the stuff he's
Yeah,
dealing with.
1930s. Like
That
the
era.
setting looks great too. Like it's
Really good pick.
That's like, did they base that game LA Noir after Chinatown? I think, right?
There's a lot of stuff.
That
There's a lot.
video
I mean,
game,
there's an interesting time period also.
Yeah.
I was taking place in LA because, like you said, like LA and noir, like it really kind of went together so well between the Black Dahlia stuff and then also Chinatown.
Yeah.
It was like such a great symbiosis there.
Yeah.
So
Makes for a
right,
great
Clemmer.
double feature with. Oh, sorry, Jack. Makes for a great double feature with LA Confidential too.
Yeah, for
Oh.
sure. Yeah, great. Oh God, that's another great movie. Damn.
another movie that inspired LA noir.
Yeah, and that's you want to talk about great cast. Woof, that
Oh.
one. Besides the one,
Yeah,
another
so
noted piece of shit in there. But,
directors and actors and shit. Like
Yeah.
that.
but yeah, man, what a cast in there. All right, Clemmer, you got back to back.
Oof. Okay. This you're absolutely right. This is good. It's really hard because there's just so many great movies left. So you pick between what is culturally great, maybe, and what maybe you consider great. So I'll Dog Day Afternoon for me is good on both fronts. You have Pacino, you have Cazale. Maybe Cazale's best performance.
I think out of that grouping we were talking about, this is his best singular. Yeah,
It's certainly the one where he gets to be on screen the most. It's if you've never seen it, I'm not giving it away, but it takes place with bank robbery in New York City in the early 70s, and it all takes place over one day. And it's very briskly paced. It holds up really well. If you're younger and haven't checked it out, you have to watch Dog Day Afternoon. It is absolute peak Pacino. I think he's much better in that than he is even in like Serpico or some other films. Obviously, Godfather. Taking Godfather out of it, I think Dog Day Afternoon is his best work. And then I'm going to go with something that's just a personal favorite of mine. I think it's the greatest or one of the greatest.
Oh, whoopsie. Sorry, that's my bad.
I sound like a character in the movie I'm going to talk about, Superman.
Yeah.
I watched it last night.
It's the original.
Yeah, because I was like, I need to put on a 70s movie, get in the mood for the draft tomorrow.
Mhm.
And then I was like just scrolling through HBO Max, and Superman was sitting like kind of on their front page. So I was like, flipped it on. I was like, God.
Yeah, it's my second favorite superhero movie. After Dark Knight. Like I think it's better than any Marvel movie. And I know people love the Marvel movies, and I understand all that. And I know they're more modern. And I know some people watch Superman, they say it's a little slow. Some younger people.
It starts slow. Starts slow. Once you get into Smallville, it picks up the pace quite a bit. But I think I do understand
Krypton stuff.
The Krypton stuff. But they do that. Zack Snyder did the same thing. So it's like where they're just on Krypton for the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Those are two, I think, actors too, with Gene Hackman and Jack Nicholson that define that decade.
Absolutely,
yeah,
for sure.
And I think the Superman, the original 78 version, it is a true epic. Like you see this amazing, sweeping epic of starts off in Krypton, goes to Smallville, and then the back half movie is all taking place in 1978 New York, and you're getting these different landscapes. You're getting this just fully fleshed out story. I really love that movie. Like I said, it's an absolute favorite of mine in the superhero genre.
Mm-hmm. That's a great pick.
Yeah, I'm a huge Superman guy, Chris. It's fantastic movie. Saw it when it came out. It was. I mean, you watch the effects now compared to what we see, and I know younger crowds probably shake their head, but it was groundbreaking at the time. You'd never seen a guy like fly in the movies like that before. And Christopher Reeve too. I think that was the very first movie, if not maybe his second. And he was an unknown. I mean, they put this unknown actor into this huge role, and they had him work out and fill out the suit a little bit, and he was perfect. Like you can't watch that now and think anybody could have did it better than Christopher Reeve because he plays two parts too. He's Clark Kent.
Yeah,
that's what I was about to say. I said they do such a great job in that movie, and something I thought last night was like they balance Clark and Superman so well. The writers do, and Christopher Reeve, and just the direction of the movie. They do a great job of balancing those two.
Yeah.
Talk about the effects. Like the effects, I think, and maybe I'm being biased here because it's when I love this movie as a kid, but I think they hold up better than some early Marvel movies because early Marvel movies is so stacked with CGI, and this is miniatures. And I think the miniatures hold up better because the CGI ages so quickly. Like you feel like
which early Marvel?
To that, sure.
Which early?
I guess any in that the first couple years of Marvel.
I think the first I think Iron Man. All right, so you're talking about like the Hulk. See, I was gonna say like Iron Man. I think their first few movies actually look they look a lot better than they do now. Like the first Iron Man, like Iron Man suit looked a lot better than it did.
Great film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the suit just got worse and worse.
Yeah,
I think the movies now actually look way worse than they did
before. Yeah, because they're stretched out and they.
But
The CGI, I just think CGI as a whole. Maybe I'm kind of throwing Marvel on the bus there a little bit, but CGI in general, even like the some of the Sam Raimi stuff when they go too hard with the CGI, it's like But I feel like miniatures, I just enjoy watching those on film where I don't think they look as old as quick.
I remember my dad showing me, I think it was not Superman 1, it might have been Superman 2. Which one is the one where he flies back in the world?
That's one.
Time? That is one, yeah. I remember my dad showing me that scene and just being like, holy shit, this is about to blow your mind. When I was a kid, I'm like, what the fuck is this? The same experience my mom had when she showed me The Exorcist, and she was like, this is the scariest movie of all time. This is gonna scare the shit out of me. Like, this is goofy. Like watching like the turn the head around.
That's heartbreaking to
hear,
though.
Because I was a kid and like for me, I'd already seen like Jeepers Creepers and shit, where it's like that is like a whole different level of like jump scary. And then I watched that and I was like, this isn't the same exact thing to me. And she was devastated.
I do feel the same way, but I've never been bothered by bad effects. So you know, the effects never really make or break the movie for me. It's just nice add. It's just icing on the cake.
Exactly.
CGI though, like when you can do everything, like nothing impresses anymore. You know?
Yeah, and like it looks bad now. Yeah, the CGI looks terrible right now. Yeah, it'll look good at the end of the year once we get Avatar 2.
Yeah, can't wait for.
Jury's out on whether it's going to be a good movie, but it's going to look great.
I love James Cameron. Like as much shit as he gets, like he is one of the greatest action directors of all time.
I'm excited to have the nap. It's gonna be a nice nap when I'm watching that, and nothing will put me to sleep fast in Avatar too. I'm sure.
Who is better at making sequels than James Cameron?
That's true.
Aliens, T2, two of the best sequel movies ever made, in my opinion, and now Avatar 2. So
you're not wrong.
Yeah, for
those other movies had much better original films to work off.
That's
of,
true.
Yeah.
You know what I was like? It was funny because I remember reading about how he thought of the Terminator skeleton. He's like, yeah, I was like high on shrooms and I had a dream about like a metal skeleton, and I was just made a movie about it. It's just like, and he made a great visual.
That's probably going to be my experience for Avatar 2.
Yeah,
plus when he does a Titanic too.
Yeah, well, see, like that never moved the needle for me versus stuff like even The Abyss. Like The Abyss, I was like, shit, this is awesome. And then the Titanic, I'm just like, this is a goofy rom-com or whatever, even though it's not really that funny.
Yeah, you remember when it was coming out? I mean, I know you're a young buck, but like when it was coming out, man, people thought it was going to be a bomb. I don't know.
Remember Cutthroat Island had come out a couple years before with Gina Davis, and they said you can't make movies on the water. That was the big thing, and you're absolutely right. All the buzz around Titanic was awful leading up to it.
Mm-hmm. And then you saw it, and it was like you could say it was a romantic movie, but the first time you saw that in the theater, man, it was stunning. It was stunning to see what he had done. I know we're just beating up on CGI a minute ago, and there was that, but I mean, it still holds up. And if you catch Titanic on cable, like
the back half of Titanic's pretty good. I think the back half of Titanic is pretty exciting and wild to watch. Yeah. The first half, I'm not going to defend. The back half's pretty good.
No, I'll defend her bosoms.
Hit me like one of your French girls.
Yeah, and that was a Jimmy C special right there. Also, I believe the second highest selling VHS tape of all time, only behind The Lion King. If I remember correctly, yeah, The Lion King I think was number 1 overall last time I looked it up. All right, Robbie, you're up.
All right, there's probably better movies from the 70s than this one. But I got to take it, and that's because Olivia Newton-John did just recently pass. And I'm going to go Grease. I really love it. It's one of the best musicals ever made. It's very enjoyable to watch, despite everyone being 30 years old and in high school. Just the songs top to bottom are memorable. They're enjoyable. They're fun. The dances are great. The sets are great. It's fun. It's just a very fun movie to go back and watch. The end of the movie when she's in her leather pants smoking a cigarette changed me when I first saw it as a 7-year-old.
Changed a lot of boys.
It's a great movie. I love it.
That's a great pick, and that's the one like you were just saying. It's just such an easy watch. Like you can watch it no matter what your mood you're in. You can just pop on Grease and have a great time with it. And then Grease 2.
Ooh, back at AMC this weekend. I did not know that. I might have to go.
Oh yeah. Donate money to breast cancer charity.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Rear Ad, you're up.
Okay. This is the nitty gritty. This is like what Chris is saying: personal preference versus cultural relevance versus all that stuff. I'm gonna go Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I know Star Wars was the big sci-fi from the decade, but this is another genius Spielberg movie. I think it got overshadowed by Star Wars a little and came out before E.T. I think it gets its proper due probably from its fans, but I get a feeling a lot of people might not have seen it, but it holds up tremendously. Another Richard Dreyfuss movie, plays the lineman. He gets basically overwhelmed by this UFO in the sky, as do a bunch of other people. the whole was it Devil's Tower scene at the end? Just an iconic movie, man. I think, like I said, I don't know if everybody's seen it, but I need a little sci-fi action here, and Close Encounters is definitely one of my favorite films of that decade.
Definitely very underappreciated, especially just because the alien features from around that same period, or sci-fi features, I guess, from around that period, kind of like overshadowed it a little bit. But I think that's one where people watch like, oh shit, this is on, not on the level of like E.T. or something, but like it's up there. It's really good.
You ever have those movies when you watch them and you're like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I like this? Because I don't like this movie. And I don't know why. I should like it. Spielberg's great. Dreyfuss is great. The tone of the film and like the obsession, that's an interesting, like Zodiac, I think does it much better later on. Like, just what does it mean to obsess about something? What does it mean to have something overtake you? It's all interesting to me, but for some reason it doesn't connect with me. But I really need to watch it again. I watched it about 15 years ago for the first time, and it just didn't click. But maybe I wasn't in the right mood, because everyone involved is a genius. So maybe it's me.
All right.
It's another world.
And my pick is going to be hard. I think I'm going to start with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I think Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is an incredible movie. I think Gene Wilder, among his performances from this era, this was like obviously not like a full comedy like Blazing Saddles or something, but he hit the comedic notes. He also hit some incredibly intense notes in this movie, which is kind of weird to think about in retrospect. But I also think that's when you talk about good world building, the world building of the Wonkaverse in this, I always thought was awesome. Like the whole factory, especially you watch this as a kid, you're like, really is the dream scenario. Yeah. And then you watch it and this is guys just like ritually murdering children, and you're just like, you're rocking with it because you hate all these kids. You hate Mike TV. You hate Violet Beauregard.
Mike TV is the worst of them.
Oh, Mike TV was sucked. He was the most annoying little child. And then like seeing all these people get fucked up.
I think Augustus Gloop did nothing wrong.
The little British broad, she was annoying.
Yeah.
Dad, I want to know, Daddy.
That's Violet.
No, was Violet Beauregard the one that turned into Blueberry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Violet, you turn to Violet.
Yeah. Fuck. Which one was the?
What was that?
Veruca Salt. I think was. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But man, there's something about Willy Wonka I've always loved, and that's when I can rewatch a million times. And it makes me frustrated in retrospect how highly rated the Johnny Depp one is. If you look at it on Rotten Tomatoes, it's like an high 80s. It's like that compared to
those always come out. Those scores are always based off when the movie came out, and that and Johnny Depp was definitely still in very much the public and critical favor when it came out. Kids today do, people like younger, like, you know, people who are about 18 now, like they really do love that movie though. I don't know why, but they like it a lot.
I've always loved it. And then this is where it gets harder. It's like, what do I back to back it with? Fuck. There's some like I really want. This is what we were just talking about. Where there's ones where you want them personally because I want them on my list, and there's ones where they're like empirically better movies. I'll go with one that I've always loved. It's one that my dad showed me, and like we've watched it a million times together. It's The French Connection. French Connection. I've always thought that was one of the coolest, just like little cop thrillers that I've ever seen. Gene Hackman crushed that role. Really, really interesting. Like when you watch that movie compared to a lot of like more modern sort of police stories, like I think it holds up versus anything. Like the gunfights, whatever, the chase scenes, so cool, so good. Soundtrack in it, really, really good. I'm just a big fan of The French Connection. I've always loved it, and I want to have it on my team. I feel like it's a good round.
This is a smart pick.
Yeah,
it's stylized, really interesting movie. It was really important of its time. It's a great pick.
I'm always been a huge fan of it. Are you a French Connection guy, all right?
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it for a while, but yeah, I mean that fucking illegal chase they did underneath the L in New York. I mean, they did that without a permit. I mean, they almost did get people killed filming that scene. One of the all-time chases. Gene Hackman. I mean, he's been on this list already. Roy Scheider, another Roy Scheider movie. Yeah. Tremendous flick. You know, obviously, you know, some elements probably haven't, you know, aged well. The way they do their policing, maybe, you know, it was very indicative of New York policing at the time. So that's accurate. But yeah, it's a terrific movie. It was based on a true story as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah. As was, I think, what was one of the ones we just talked about recently? Dog Day Afternoon, right?
Dog Day Afternoon is based on true story.
Yeah, it's based on true story as well. All right, Murad, you're back up.
Okay. I needed something very 70s of the era, and this movie actually has a huge role in Hollywood history or affecting Hollywood history, more so afterward. Michael Cimino's The Deer Hunter. You know, another Vietnam movie. And this was, you know, Vietnam just ended a couple of years before this. It's a long one, and I know, you know, people bitch about the wedding scene at the beginning. It's like a long wedding scene, but it's just another epic movie about Vietnam, and it hadn't been too many movies. I mean, Coming Home had come out. What's his name? Hal Ashby did Coming Home, Apocalypse Now, but this movie was just like it kind of took the PTSD factor, the effects that the war had on these guys, and that ended, man. It just it always kills you at the end of when they say God bless America at the end, and it's not like it's not really a pro or it doesn't take sides or anything. It just kind of like shows you these guys these Russian Americans from Western Pennsylvania. They get shipped off to war, the effect it has on them and the people around them, and it's just a stunning movie. And of course, it was a huge hit. Michael Cimino, the best director, they won Best Picture. He became this like monster director, and then like they gave him this crazy budget. And he was doing all kinds of blow, and he made Heaven's Gate, and that kind of like that's when like the studios took the movies back from the directors. They're like, the directors had the run, and like this guy was like running amok, and they're like, all right, man, see you later. We're taking the keys back, and that kind of after Deer Hunt, that movie comes. So it has like that's why I say it has a huge role in Hollywood history because of its success led to Cimino's downfall. But Deer Hunt, a tremendous movie. And Chris, I don't know if you remember how old you are exactly, but Channel 38 here in Boston,
that's right.
They used to air it unedited every year. I'm talking like this.
Really? I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah, the early 80s, and it was very rare, like for a TV station.
Yeah.
To air an unedited rated R movie with all the stuff that was going on in it. And they would air, it was an annual show, and almost like I won't say it was a tribute to veterans, but I think that was the purpose of it, to like sort of educate people about what was going on. But so I would watch it every year on Channel 38. But yeah,
Deer Hunt is a great movie. My issue is that third act. The idea. The stuff when he goes back to Vietnam is just ridiculous. Like the coincidences that happen and the stuff that happens, like when it gets silly and beyond melodramatic. It's a shame because the first two acts are fantastic. I like the stuff in Pennsylvania. I like the wedding scene. I like getting to meet these people. And I like seeing what happens when he goes home, especially when De Niro goes home and he's having like a hard time. Like, how do I go back to like regular life like this? He's like, the stuff from Meryl Streep at the supermarket. Like that all feels really real and lived in. It's when he goes back to Vietnam again. That's when it's like I think the movie goes completely off the rails and it loses me. It's still a very good movie. I just have a hard time calling it great.
Yeah, I actually an uncle of mine. He's passed, but he was in Vietnam, and I asked him years ago which movie was the most realistic, and he actually said Deer Hunter was like he rolled his eyes, but he said Apocalypse Now was the best representation of Vietnam.
That's interesting
in his experience. Yeah,
you want to talk about a great cast, man? That movie was unreal. And it just like probably the lowest paid actor on that was like Christopher Walken,
who won the Oscar.
Yeah, who won the Oscar, and like it's like him, Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep's probably the lowest paid.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely was Meryl Streep at that time. Man, what a fucking cast that was.
And that one guy too. He was a local guy.
That John Savage was in it.
No. I gotta cheat and look it up, but he was the big dude. He was actually like a iron worker or whatever, a steel worker that they met on the set and they put him into the movie. He wasn't like a professional actor. Chuck Asperger, the big dude with the beard, he wasn't even a regular actor. He was
the foreman at the East Chicago Steelworks that visited early in pre-production, and they were impressed with him and they offered him a role.
That's great. There's some really great establishing shots of where they are. You have like the mill of the background and you have the little house up front. Like stuff like that, it shows you what a brilliant director Cimino was to even like have that shot there. And he uses it a couple times and even use it to show differences in like seasons and things like that. Like what a great way to use a landscape. Brilliant guy.
Robbie, you're up.
Is this our last pick?
Well, yeah, I feel like we have to do another round. I feel like we definitely have to do
it. Two on my back end.
Yeah,
right.
You guys, cool with that? We're gonna do another round.
That changes the pick.
Okay. That's fair.
Because there's a movie that I know I'll get, but I have to have it on the graphic. But this one is not that movie. I'm gonna go Alien.
Great pick.
Great movie. I do prefer Aliens over Alien. But Alien.
They're like totally different genres. It's so weird. Those two movies. Yeah.
It's just like it makes you so claustrophobic watching that movie. Sigourney Weaver is fucking incredible and just hot as shit in that movie. I mean, there's a reason why she's like, there's a reason why she's just like kind of the gold standard for like a female lead, like sci-fi action. Ripley is just
badass as hell.
Ripley's just cool as fuck.
Alien design too. Incredible.
The alien design, and it's one of those ones where you go back and watch it. It is a little corny, but it does kind of like when you see it younger, it's like it does scare the shit out of you. Seeing
I remember
like that thing just pop out of someone's stomach.
What I watched first before that was Alien versus Predator, and I was like, this movie's like whatever. The alien's scary as hell though. And I remember I think either my dad or like my mom just being like, this is based off of something else, right? I was like, oh, really? And I went and watched the Alien movies. I'm like, oh my god, this is so much better. It's crazy. Because I had seen Predator, I'd never seen Aliens though at that point. But man, great pick. Fuck. And I always forget that's 70s. That's like 79.
79, yeah.
Ridley Scott, 79.
Maybe the best horror movie of the 70s, although some people might say something else. But
there is one on the board. I don't like it, but there is one massive one.
Yes. There's two on the board.
I would say a couple massive ones on the board.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah.
Clemmer, you get back to back.
All right. Okay, so there's so many good ones left.
I know.
I'm gonna take.
It's hard.
It's
man.
really
it's
hard.
Really
I'm
hard.
torn between so many. I mean, I'm gonna take one off the bat here. I know I'm gonna take. So that's All That Jazz. All That Jazz is the best musical of all time. Full stop. It is Bob Fosse. It's Roy Scheider, one of the greatest performances of all time. It's a movie that's kind of been forgotten. It's hard to stream. It's Criterion did an amazing job releasing the Criterion Collection, the Blu-ray on that. It's very good. I recommend picking that up.
I get it, yeah.
But it is. Anyone who's seen it, I think most people have seen it loved it. Got nominated for Best Picture, but I said it's kind of been forgotten. But it's a really cynical look at show business, and it also talks about death and what does death mean? What does it mean to die? And the last scene, the musical number, is maybe my favorite moment in film. The last 10 minutes, like one of my favorite scenes in film history. Period. It is a fantastic movie. I would have had it much higher on our list, but I figured I'd be able to get it. So
you could definitely wait on that.
I figured All That Jazz would go late, if at all. But All That Jazz is an easy one for me there. It gets harder. I think I might take a horror movie here, and I know we got people making fun of it earlier, but The Exorcist. I'm going to go with it. I know that I've heard from a lot of people who are 30 and under that it's goofy. They laugh at it.
It's kind of goofy.
And
it's just in retrospect, but at that time, man, that like revolutionary.
I mean, I saw it when I was 9 years old in the 80s, and it scared the shit out of me. I watch it now. I still get scared. Maybe I can kind of throw myself in a little like mental time machine. Yeah. But the idea, the reason it's so scary is unlike Alien, I'm not going to be in a spaceship trying to.
It's true.
Like this can happen in theory to anyone. Yes. Like anyone in theory could be possessed. And how do you manage that? And I found it to be scary. I still do, but I do understand though. I've had enough young people tell me like, that doesn't hold up. But it does for me, so I'm taking it.
Yeah, no, definitely take what you like. That's what I do.
All right, did it scare you when you were a kid?
Oh, scared the shit out of me. I remember my babysitter hiding behind the pillow because it was horrifying to see Linda Blair like made up like that. And, it's still scary. And to go back to all that jazz, that's a movie like I tell like if people who are Jaws fans like. The first time you watch that and you're like, oh my God, that's Chief Brody, because you're so used to seeing him in the Jaws role, and then you see him in All That Jazz, and you're like, holy shit, what a goddamn performance this guy put in. Tremendous movie. Great.
In my top 5 all-time performances ever, I think Roy Scheider in All That Jazz is one. It's just absolute. It's unbelievable. He's so great in the movie. It's hard to even put into words.
That's great pick, Robbie. You're up.
All right, so this is the movie that I knew would be there for me because I don't think by any means like one of the top. What are we doing? 20, 25, 24 picks of the 70s, but it is just one of my favorite movies of all time. It's called My Name is Nobody. It's one of Sergio Leone's final spaghetti westerns. It stars Henry Fonda, Terrence Hill. You got Ennio Morricone just dropping one of the best. I think it's one of his best scores. Works in an electric guitar into the score. It's fucking phenomenal. It's got dramatic moments, comedic moments, and it's kind of like his farewell to the genre. I love that movie. I really do.
I haven't seen it.
It's fun. I mean, it's fun. It's dramatic. It's got everything I like about a Western. I grew up watching a lot of spaghetti Westerns because that's my dad's favorite genre, and Dad has the remote, so to watch what he wants to watch. I love that movie. Just got a special place in my heart.
That's a cool pick.
He does have a lot of like later period Leone that were like not a lot of people have either heard of him, at least compared to his earlier work. And he just kind of like goes off and does look a little bit. Some things are like different than like his regular Clint Eastwood stuff. So. But yeah,
well, I recommend checking it. It's on Prime Video right now. I just looked it
up.
Right. So yeah,
My Name is Nobody.
Yeah,
Rear Ad, you're up.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of that. All right, this one I can't leave on the board. I need another comedy. It's for my money the best sports movie ever made. Definitely the best hockey movie ever made. Reggie Dunlop, Slapshot. In its movie, you could say the goofy Hanson brothers, and it's actually a pretty sharp script. Nancy Dowd wrote it, who was the real life sister of the actor who played Ogie Oglethorpe, and it's kind of really sharp about hockey ownership, owners moving teams to the South. That was way ahead of its time. People weren't talking about moving teams to Florida back then, and just the way the economics of the game and kind of goofs on hockey. The last what's he doing at the end? He's stripping. He's like, "This is hockey," as if the guy stripping was embarrassing the game of hockey, not everybody beating the shit out of each other. And then of course the Hanson brothers, Paul Newman, Melinda Dillon's 70's Banana Tits. I mean, you can't go wrong with Slapshot. Yeah,
I'm listening. The guy's trying to talk to me. He's like, "I'm listening to the fucking song."
Yeah. Oh, the Hanson, the three, well, not real life brothers. So two of them were. I mean, they're in the movie. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes total, and it's some of the most iconic work ever done in a sports movie or any movie for that matter. So yeah, I can't leave Slapshot on the board as the resident hockey guy.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. All right, our theoretical closeout pick is to me, and it is a huge struggle. A lot of the ones I would have had here, I've just been taken off the board. So there's so many on here. People were there's horror ones that we haven't got a chance to pick. But I think I'm gonna have to go with another Mel Brooks movie in Young Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein, I think, is one of the funniest movies he made, and I think that you want to talk about a really stacked comedic cast.
Hey, Frankenstein.
that cast is so goddamn funny. That's one of the few movies when I was younger. I would never want to watch anything that was in black and white, ever. And that's one where I watched it and I was like, this is so fucking funny that maybe I'll go watch more. So I felt like I had to go check out or had to get Young Frankenstein, one of my last picks here. I love that pick. I gotta ask though, do we want to do one more round?
I have plenty on the table.
I have plenty left for another round. Do you guys want to do one last round?
I can go one more.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do it.
All right, then let's do one last round, and I'll do after Young Frankenstein. Fuck, there's so many. There's so many good ones left. I'll go with All the President's Men.
Oh, it's a great pick. I was really yep.
All the President's Men is such a good movie. That's one of the if I were to go through all these movies and look at my actual rating for them through movierankings.net, I think it would be one of the top 10. I'm pretty sure top 5. I think it's one of the best, just not even just retelling of a story, but just one of the best procedural movies, where you figure things out along with them, and that is so gratifying as you watch it. One of the all-time great casts as well. A young Dustin Hoffman, young Robert Redford, all that. Man, even more too. More I'm thinking about it. And that was, I think, one where after I watched that movie when I was younger, I was probably a teenager. I went and watched a whole bunch of Robert Redford stuff, and his entire filmography from that whole era is just insanely good. And obviously, he's a father of indie cinema now, and just such a legend. And just I love watching him in this movie. And he has another movie on here which I don't think is going to get picked. But I would have had on my top of my list too. A great spy thriller that would have been on here. But Rear Ad.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I'm not. Now I'm at that place. All right, so I want to take, like Chris just was.
You gotta take what you like, though. I mean, it's your list.
This is the last one, so take what you like.
You know what? I'm gonna go another Redford movie. I'm gonna go with The Sting.
Fuck! You got to be kidding me! God,
great
damn
movie.
it! That's literally what I was gonna pick.
That's a great pick.
Redford Newman, of course, they did a pair of flicks of that era, but I prefer this one. Just a classic con man flick. Another Robert Shaw movie, by the way, too. Sting. If you've never seen it, I'm not sure if it's streaming. I'll look at. Awesome movie. Just it just sings, it just hums along. It just goes from one scene to the other. Paul Newman with a terrific performance. Robert Shaw, man, that guy is intimidating, whatever role he's doing. But if you haven't seen it, by all means, check it out. It's a great. I think it's set in the 30s. Just a classic con man caper. Is it streaming? Yeah, it's on Prime. You got to rent it. Fuck that, $3. That's my final pick.
Oh, God. All right.
There's another Robert Redford movie on the list that's extremely good. It's right around that same period too. Different spy thriller, CIA movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. That's not what I'm going to go with though. Is this still on the board? Is Taxi Driver still on the board?
Taxi Driver still.
I'm going with Taxi Driver. Kind of a cliche pick, and it's kind of been co-opted by just kind of the worst kind of people, worst kind of movie fan. But it is just a phenomenal movie that's just highly influential on movies. It's still, I mean, Joker came out 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. That movie is just heavily influenced by Taxi Driver.
Yes.
De Niro's fucking incredible. Another guy where it's like he didn't have a ton of great stuff when we were kids, but you go back and you watch his young stuff, and you're just kind of just captivated when he's on the screen, and he's terrifying in that movie in parts.
Young Jodie Foster, a couple other people in that,
great. I mean, just a great flick, and it's one of the most New York City movies, and I've grown to appreciate it more since moving here, where it's like it's just gritty ass New York City.
There's a couple of those, especially from Scorsese from this period that I would have easily had on this list as well.
It's a great movie. It's a great place. The Travis Bickle character is. You're right. It has been co-opted by the worst kind of movie fans. It's a great take there. But it is, it is a brilliant Scorsese film.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. The Joker comps, everything you said was right on pace. And then the Albert Brooks. You have Sybil Shepherd. You have even Peter Boyle, who kind of runs the taxi stand there.
Brooks,
Like it's a really great cast, really used really well, and the climax is scary, terrifying, bizarre. Like all of it is
violent.
It is a dark, seedy world that is very interesting to watch. Great pick.
Yeah,
all-time movie quote too. You talking to me? It's one of the all-time movie quotes ever. All right, Clemmer, you get to round us out.
All right, so you guys made it a little easier taking Taxi Driver and All the President's Men. For me, it's between two movies. It's between either Kramer versus Kramer, which I'm not going to take. I'm going to go with The Conversation. Gene Hackman. We talk about Francis Ford Coppola. So this is my second Coppola. This is the movie he made between Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. It was nominated for Best Picture along with Godfather 2 that same year. It has one of the greatest performances ever by Gene Hackman. He's just incredible in this movie. You have a young Robert Duvall. You have young Robert Duvall. You have a very young Harrison Ford. And it's about obsession. Once again, this comes up a lot in the 70s movies. And about paranoia. And
saxophones.
But what is it? What is paranoia reality? Is reality paranoia? It kind of has those questions there. It's just an amazing movie that I don't know if a lot of younger people have seen. Because it's a smaller movie. It's a quieter movie than the Godfather movies
for sure.
But it's definitely like peak Coppola.
Oh yeah, man, it's such a fucking good pick too. I'm gonna read out our teams really quick, and then we can just talk about some of our honorable mentions. I have Jaws, Apocalypse Now, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Willy Wonka, French Connection, Young Frankenstein, All the President's Men. Rear Ad has Godfather 1, Animal House, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, The Deer Hunter, Slapshot and The Sting, Robbie has Blazing Saddles, we're going to say Star Wars in this case, Chinatown, Grease, Alien, My Name is Nobody, Taxi Driver, Clemmer, you have Godfather Part 2, Rocky, Dog Day Afternoon, Superman, All That Jazz, The Exorcist, and The Conversation. Some of my ones that were off my list.
All those lists are stacked.
It's insane.
I know people are going to be like, oh, so-and-so won by a landslide. Like, those are all great lists.
Yes.
No, what the crazy thing is going to be, the comments are going to be filled with, I can't believe you didn't take blank. And you're like, it's a great fucking movie. I agree.
Yeah.
People like, it just didn't make the list.
No.
Sorry.
So, some of the ones left off mine, Enter the Dragon, Mean Streets, 3 Days of the Condor is the one I was talking about before. Carrie, Network, Midnight Express, which that one was tough to leave off.
I was thinking Network.
Yeah.
Me too. I was heading Network as well.
The Warriors, Deliverance, Mad Max, Halloween, Clockwork Orange, American Graffiti. There's like so many.
I think people are gonna be mad we left off Halloween.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm sure.
But it's just one of those things where like you want to pick ones that you like and also are on here. Like I like Halloween a lot, and I also respect what it did for it. So there's a lot of things.
I agree, it's a great movie. But
you should watch it, especially I think we talked to you about this before. The Movies That Made Us. Have you seen that before? Your ad on Netflix. The Movies That Made Us.
Yeah,
the one they did on Halloween is incredible.
Yeah, John Carpenter was like no budget. Like he did all the music. It should have never been a hit. And it goes to show sometimes less is more. I mean, you see very little blood in Halloween. It was just more about the illusion of the scare. Because I mean, a couple parts of Michael Myers, he gets up close, but a lot of it is just what you don't see. But Halloween was on my list as well.
The one scene they had with the POV of Michael Myers like moving through around the house and everything, like that one that's like totally revolutionary. Like no one had ever done anything like that before. And there's so many things like
breathing.
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some honorable mentions for you guys?
See, this is where like I like bad movies. This isn't necessarily bad, but like Smokey and the Bandit, Longest Yard, Two Mules for Sister Sarah with Clint Eastwood. Also with Clint Eastwood, Outlaw Josie Wells in the 70s, I'm pretty sure. Not my favorite Western, but people really, it's very respectable. There's a lot of great movies from the 70s.
Oh, there is. I mean, I have another horror movie that I like better than Halloween is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
With Donald Sutherland. If people haven't seen that, please check that out. That is a fantastic.
That's a great. That scene is one of the iconic ones.
The end is incredible, but the whole movie is really good. Leonard Nimoy with Jeff Goldblum is in that. Once again, deals with obsession, paranoia. Who do you trust? A lot of you can see this like the Watergate stuff. Really, is all over the 70s. But Kramer vs. Kramer is great. That holds up today. I just watched it about a year ago. It holds up really well. It was on HBO Max for a while. I don't know if it's still there or not. That is a fantastic movie. Rocky 2 is really good.
Yeah.
Rocky 2. Yeah, I brought that up earlier. Yeah.
We haven't mentioned my favorite comedy, The Jerk.
Oh yeah, damn.
Oh wow,
and that is a great comedy. I think that's better than any comedy that we've talked about. And don't get me wrong, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Monty Python, those are all great comedies. But The Jerk to me is so great. But no, I mean, like you said, there's so many movies you can't really go wrong. I guess
exactly.
But you also can't go right.
This comment section will be funny. Like it's just gonna be filled with.
And they're probably all right.
I can't believe you didn't draft, and it's like, yeah, great movie. Just didn't make.
If you look at any of our lists, like I would take any
one here for hours if we tried to get all the good movies in.
I think if we were to like take any grouping of any of our teams on like to a desert island, we'd be totally set or whatever.
Another horror movie we haven't mentioned, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
which is a terrifying movie.
Yeah, a lot of these ones. Riyadh, would you have any on for your list?
Yeah, I think one of these might have already mentioned Deliverance, if not, classic 70s.
My favorite Burt Reynolds movie that decade.
Yeah, he was like, you talk about like a man's man in that movie. Holy shit. Let's see. The Halloween we already mentioned. I had a couple. Here's a director that I don't think he got chosen at all, and I'm not kind of surprised. Robert Altman. I mean, he had a bunch of movies in the 70s. Nashville, The Long Goodbye. I would have probably taken McCabe and Mrs. Miller. It was sort of like the anti-Western. It was, for a long time, Westerns where a cowboy comes to town. It was a shoot 'em up type thing, and Altman come along and kind of turned fucking the Western on its head. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. It's a tremendous movie. Warren Beatty and Julie Christie. He plays. He's a I guess an entrepreneur of the pioneer days. He starts a whorehouse / bar out in the Pacific Northwest, and he pairs up with Julie Christie, but then some corporate interests want to take him over, and it's actually kind of a great movie about like capitalism and like just how America was founded, and they filmed it up in the Pacific Northwest and actually built the set as they made the movie. Really interesting history. But McCabe and Mrs. Miller, I'm not sure if it's still streaming on HBO. Saturday Night Fever, another iconic 70s movie. Probably, well, I shouldn't say it hasn't aged well. It's very much of its time. I know people watch it and are horrified by maybe the language of some of the scenes. It's like, yeah, you watched the movie from the fucking 70s. Like that was the way of the world. And I think that's another thing, Chris, maybe you can agree with me that, it used to be for the longest time, people would watch a movie from a different time and era or place and understand, okay, nowadays people watch a fucking 40-year-old movie and like, cancel it. This is offensive. It's like, they made it of a time when things were different. Like people used to always understand that, and people don't seem to get that anymore.
No, you're absolutely right. Let's say people watch a black and white movie from the 30s or 40s. People were smoking. Okay, well, yes, less people smoke now. But that's what they did back then. Like we need to appreciate and respect when a movie was made and what the culture was like. Just like we're doing stuff today in 2022 that 40 years from now probably isn't acceptable. We're probably doing something wrong that we don't even know we're doing wrong. And, but I would hope people in 2062 don't judge us the same way we judge 1982 or whatever now.
Yeah. Here's probably like a perfect example of that. Okay. Like, let me ask you, like, if you think of classic Hollywood romances, like true, like on-screen and off-screen couples, who was probably the biggest one in history?
Like Bogey and Bacall, right?
Bingo. Okay. Now they're like this beloved. Now they met. I forget the name of the movie on set. She was 19 and he was like 43. Like
huge age difference.
Huge, and it's like nobody. And then you say that now, and it sounds like you're being a creep. But it's like, no, this is they were a true like in love couple. They were together for years till he died. But like, if that happened today, like they would be like, oh, he's a pedophile, cancel him, like blow the movie set up, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, no, I mean, again, it's just to illustrate things are different, man. So like, if you watch a movie and something fucking bothers you, don't try to go on TikTok and get it fucking taken off your fucking shelf. Just say, it's a different time, different place. Things are different, and they're not anymore. Stop being a crybaby about it.
Now they just don't talk about it. Like we just watched the Elvis movie. The Elvis movie, they talk about him meeting his wife. They don't mention how he
not bring up that age difference at all.
He met his wife when she was 15. They don't talk about that at all.
They were great, but they were a great couple. They loved each other.
Yeah, and everyone was like, let's just avoid that because like they were a big power couple at the time. No one wanted to talk about that age difference and also pedophilia, sort of like strewn in there too.
Yeah, and see that, and that's a weird term. When you find yourself making the differences between like, having affinity for certain ages. It's like, yeah, maybe just have that conversation away. But again, it's like, it wasn't whether you were a rock star or not. Like, men dated women fucking significantly younger back then, and society didn't scorn them for it. It wasn't like, looked down upon. I'm not making moral claims on it now, but like I just, maybe don't fucking judge people so harshly when they weren't judged that harshly in that, or you can do it in hindsight, but it doesn't mean you're fucking right, or that's how like history works,
If we go to a museum and you see a painting of slaves, like, it's slavery was horrible. Everyone can agree on that now. We know that now. It's 2022. But if something was painted in, say, 1783 and had a slave in it, doesn't mean we should rip the painting off the wall. We should obviously understand it was a horrible thing, but it also is still art. It's still a snapshot of that time. And I think when you start to forget history, you're doomed to repeat it. I think you need to understand the history and be like, all right, well, here's what we can do differently. Here's what we can learn from. I think that's a big part of art, and movies are art.
Absolutely. What is it? The context. It's all
absolutely.
Big heritage, not hate, guys. RA and Clemmer. No, I'm just fucking with you. Okay, that's the episode of Long Tape. We got really good. I think all of us again have really good teams here. We'll be back next week we won't be back next week because I'll be out on vacation.
I'll be out too.
Perfect. All right, so we'll be back in the first.
I'll be alone in this room, talking to myself.
Mean Streets. That's another one I meant to prop.
Yeah, Mean Streets. We had
I love the opening with "Be My Baby."
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite openings all time. And
that is a good one. But we'll be back the first week of September then with a new list, new draft, whatever we're going to be doing that time. But until then, thanks to everyone for joining. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. We're going to change this to that when you have to subscribe to the YouTube to comment. So do that soon.
Yeah.